the cost of this operation is expensive. It's expensive to enforce the laws and protect our national security.
Kids, adults.
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering a country illegally. What price are you putting on Lincoln Riley's life? What price are you putting on national security?
So many people are getting attacked.
He's a felon! He's a felon! I don't want him here anymore.
If you had a violent murder in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. We are a week into the Donald Trump presidency, and already they are showing that they are not messing around. He has sent troops to the border, and they have been deporting violent illegal criminals en masse. And this is going to continue. So in this video, we are going to be watching Tom Homan and JD Vance take some reporters to school, and we're going to be reviewing some liberal meltdowns about this. So without further ado, let's get into the first clip.
You have been clear that your success here in this effort will depend on how much money you can get from Congress. Now that you're in this role, do you know how much money, what kind of budget you would need to deport the people that you say are public safety threats, national security threats, and also the 1.2 million that you just referenced there who have gotten orders from a judge?
1.4 million. And yes, look, we need more than 100,000 beds. Right now, we got about 34,000 beds. We'll fill them up in a week. So we need at least 100,000 beds. We need more international air flights. We need more ground transportation. We need more money to hire more officers and border patrol agents. And that's why we're bringing right now, the whole of government is coming in, right? In the Chicago operation and every operation throughout the country now. We got DEA, we got FBI, we got U.S. Marshals, we got ATF, we got HSI, we got ERO. So right now we're bringing the whole of government into this so we can create more teams and arrest more people. So this dynamic is constantly changing. And depending on the city, is it a sanctuary city or not a sanctuary city?
Yeah, you're using them as like a force multiplier, but when it goes to the real money that you'll need from Congress to get more beds and to hire more agents, if Congress is not reliable, as I'm sure you are well aware in terms of what they can get passed. I know they believe this is a big part of Trump's agenda, but if you don't get what you need from Congress, can you achieve what you're trying to achieve here?
We're going to do everything we can with what we have, and we're going to arrest as many as we can. However, you're right. We can be more successful if we have more money, if we can buy more beds, because every time we arrest an illegal alien, we just don't deport them that day. We have to detain them for a few days or a few weeks to get travel documents, get landing rights in their home country. So the more money we have, the more we can do.
And on one of the things that we've been seeing is you're publicly talking about this first week. You know, I saw the numbers that ICE put out tonight that we started asking you about. We also saw this video last week of something you told me was going to happen using military flights. This is a C-17. It's flying about 80 people back to Guatemala. The flight cost from El Paso for that is about 252,000 numbers based on an estimate we got from the government today. Do you think that's a better use of taxpayer money than a chartered flight, which would cost closer to, I believe, $9,000?
Well, it's a force multiplier. We got a lot of planes flying every day across, mostly to Central America and South America. So they're adding a resource to us. So again, the cost of this operation is expensive. It's expensive to enforce the laws and protect our national security, but I don't put a price tag on securing that border. Once we secure the border, we show consequences. The number's already down. We had like 500 crossings in one day. Compare that to 10 to 12,000 a day under Biden.
Right,
500
but why is it better to use a military plane? That's one of the lowest I've seen in my 34-year career. But why is it better to use a military plane that costs so much more than just a chartered plane, which is what was happening before?
Charter planes are still running at full capacity. This is just an added thing, and they can put a lot more people on a plane rather than they can make a long distance, such as going to Colombia. We'll use them for European removal. So it makes sense to fill that plane up with a lot of people and get them moving. Again, it's an added asset because our air contracts now are full, 100% capacity. So as we add more flights, I'm sure we'll add more charter flights. But right now, DOD is working with us on the border, building infrastructure, obedience and denial. They're down there putting razor wire up, and they're flying planes.
Okay.
They're also going to probably do some ground transportation. We're going to use DOD.
And I should note that we are told that the Department of Homeland Security will not be reimbursing the Pentagon for these flights. That sometimes is the case, but we were told today that that's not the case.
Okay, so this line of attack is actually laughable to me, where they're saying it's going to be so expensive to deport all of these violent illegal immigrants. Never forget that these are the exact same people who will stand and applaud as the country gives away billions and billions of dollars for a useless war in Ukraine, as well as other useless foreign aid.
Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin.
These are the people who did not care about the financial implications of lockdowns and other COVID policies on everyday Americans. They're silent about bailouts and corporate welfare, and they really don't care when it comes to government spending on useless climate change policies to make the sun less hot.
What is worth more, art or life?
And they really, really don't care about the spending that actually goes on illegal immigrants. Plus, they fail to mention how illegal immigration puts a strain on the economy through healthcare, education, welfare and other social service spending, labor market shortages, housing market shortages, and also the cost of enforcement. If they don't come in the first place, and if this crisis was averted, then Trump doesn't need to come and clean up the mess. So let's get into the next argument now, and then we'll get into some liberal meltdowns.
I want to go back to who you're deporting. Aside from the long list of executive actions, the administration said it will no longer tell ICE agents they have to avoid sensitive locations, including schools, hospitals, churches. Benjamin Huffman, the acting Homeland Security Secretary, said in a statement, criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. What criminals are hiding in schools?
Look,
middle schools, elementary schools. You going to go into those?
How many MS-13 members are aged 14 to 17? Many of them. So, look, if it's a national security threat, public safety threat, and what you need to understand is a case by case. Name another agency, another law enforcement agency that has those type of requirements that they can't walk into a school or a doctor's office or a medical campus. No other agencies held those standards. These are well-trained officers with a lot of discretion, and when it comes to sensitive location, there's still going to be supervisory review. So it's not like it's an open issue, but ICE officers should have discretion to decide if a national security threat or a public safety threats in one of these facilities, then there should be an option for them to make the arrest.
But someday you could go into those schools and grab people who are just in the country illegally.
On a case-by-case basis, depending who they are, what the circumstances are. It's never a zero game.
You know that this creates fear in the immigrant community. The chair of the U.S. Conference of Bishops Committee said turning places of care, healing, and solace into places of fear and uncertainty for those in need while endangering the trust between pastors, providers, educators, and the people they serve will not make our communities safer.
Well, look, here's I think. If Congress has a job to do, we're enforcing the laws Congress enacted and the president signed. If they don't like it, change the law. I find it hard to believe any member of Congress is telling us not to enforce the law that they enacted and they fund us to do.
Just a quick reminder, guys, don't forget to smash that like button if you're enjoying this, and if you want to see the content go far and wide. And if you're new here, or if you haven't subscribed yet, you are more than welcome to do so. Let's get back to the video.
But opening up to anyone who's in the country illegally and going into schools and grabbing them, does that, kids, adults?
The message needs to be clear. There's consequences for entering a country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem.
Estimates are that there are 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country right now. How can you possibly afford to deport all of those people?
Well, I'll leave it up to Congress. You know, I think Congress, the president has a mandate. This is the #1 issue that people voted on. I think Congress has a mandate to give us the money we need. What price you put on national security?
More detention centers?
What price you put on? What price you put on all these young ladies that have been raped and murdered and burned alive? What price you put on that? What price you put on Laken Riley's life? What price you put on national security? Like I just explained, when you have a surge like this, we don't secure that border. That's when national security threats enter the country. That's when sex trafficking goes up. That's when the fentanyl comes in that kills 250,000 Americans. I don't put a price on that.
And on those detention centers, do you need more beds? I think there's
Absolutely.
41,000 now, 100,000. So where do you get those beds? Do you build more camps? Do you do this military installations in Texas and elsewhere?
A little bit of everything. We can build Southside facilities. We can expand our contracts to outside contractors. So yeah, we're going to need more ICE beds, a minimum of 100,000. Congress needs to come to the table quick and give us the money we need to secure that border.
Let's talk about those flights again. with the host countries, you flew all of those people back? Were all of the people arrested on the first day, for instance, repatriated? And what about those countries that won't take them back?
Oh, they'll take them back.
What do you mean by that?
We got President Trump coming to power. President Trump puts America first. Mexico didn't want to do a Made in Mexico program. Under the first administration, they did it. They didn't want to put military in the southern border. They did it.
How do you convince them?
El Salvador didn't want to take MS-13 members back. Took President Trump 48 hours to make that happen. President Trump's going to put America first. And if it doesn't, then we'll place my third safe country.
So the Democrats and the mainstream media are trying to pull on the heartstrings here when they're talking about children being pulled out of school and deported. But what they don't mention is that gangs like MS-13 recruit poor and vulnerable children around the ages of 12 and 13 very often, and sometimes younger, to join the gang. And very often these kids have to do initiations that will even include murder. Let's have a look at the case of these two young gentlemen who were recruited as teenagers.
Miguel Alvarez Flores, seen here waving, and Diego Hernandez Rivera both face aggravated kidnapping and murder charges for allegedly killing a teenage girl during a satanic ritual last month in Texas. Detectives say the two alleged MS-13 gang members held the girl and two others between the ages of 14 and 16 at this Houston apartment. They say Alvarez Flores directed Hernandez Rivera to kill the girl as part of a satanic ritual after she had disrespected their shrine to Satanism. The girl's body with gunshot wounds to the face and chest was later found lying in a street in a West Houston neighborhood. She has not been officially identified. The two other young women survived and are back with their families. Both men who officials say are in the U.S. illegally have reportedly admitted their involvement.
Yes, you heard that right. She interrupted their satanic ritual. These people are actually satanic in these gangs, which is just lovely. Now, the mainstream media and the Democrats will try and keep the pressure on because Orange Man must be bad no matter what. But I can't think of one single reason why Trump and his administration should not be doing exactly what they're doing, which is uncompromisingly finding and deporting these violent people. But despite this very obvious argument and the fact that this is just common sense, it has not stopped the liberals from going into a meltdown. Let's have a listen to Selena Gomez ugly crying.
I just wanted to say that I'm so sorry. All my people are getting attacked. The children. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I wish I could do something, but I can't. I don't know what to do. I'll try everything, I promise.
So just a little FYI here, guys. Selena Gomez is a third-generation American whose grandfather on her father's side was born in Mexico, but her mother's side of her family is Italian. So little bit of a stretch to be saying my people are being deported. I doubt she knows any illegal immigrants from up in her ivory tower. Here's another one.
We came here because she wanted a better life for us. She wanted a better education for us. She wanted for us to have a better future. And now this is all gonna be taken away because of him. Because of that stupid. Oh my God. Stupid fucking felon. He's a felon. He's a felon. He's a felon. I don't want him here anymore. I can't. I'm not coming back. I'm never coming back here until he leaves the house. He's ruining my life, her life, and the lives of every single immigrant in this country.
Oh no, please don't go.
Baby, come back here. You can blame it all on me.
I mean, can we just get a rule that all of these liberals who are just so insufferably crying about how they don't want to be in America and about how America's so terrible, can we please just organize a swap? Because I'm happy to wait in line and do what I need to do to get my visa. But if we could organize a little swap, it might be mutually beneficial. Anyway, here's the Venezuelan illegal who went viral on the internet last year for telling others to come and invade the country as well, and then to start squatting in America.
Estoy en peligro de muerte en United States.
Necesito protección en Estados Unidos. Me están persiguiendo. Me han bloqueado mi cuenta y mi cuenta aparece de secciones abiertas en Nueva York. Y yo no estoy en Nueva York. Mi gente, necesito que estén pendientes de lo que está pasando. Porque mi familia corre peligro. Corre mucho peligro, muchachos.
Okay, first of all, gross. What are you, like 6 months old? Clean your snot.
Disgusting!
But I really hope that they arrest him and they get it on camera and then just afuera. But anyways, JD Vance was also quizzed on this. Let's check out that clip.
Let me ask you about another area that you campaigned on quite a lot, and there was a flurry of activity on, and that has to do with immigration.
Sure.
The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops this week condemned some of the executive orders signed by President Trump, specifically those allowing immigration and customs enforcement to enter churches and to enter schools. Do you personally support the idea of conducting a raid or enforcement action in a church service, at a school?
Well, let me address this. Of course, if you have a person who is convicted of a violent crime, whether they're an illegal immigrant or a non-illegal immigrant, you have to go and get that person to protect the public safety. That's not unique to immigration. But let me just address this particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support them
about
going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley who
churches.
were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe. Let me ask this question, Margaret. Let's separate the immigration issue. If you had a violent murderer in a school, of course I want law enforcement to go and get that person out.
Of course.
So what's the point of the question?
You changed the regulation this week. That's the point of the question.
Exactly.
Giving the authority to go into churches and go into schools.
We empowered law enforcement to enforce
But
the
that
law
also
everywhere
has
to
a
protect
knock-on
Americans.
effect, a chilling effect, arguably, to people to not send their kids to school.
I desperately hope it has a chilling
in
effect
the
on
churches,
illegal immigrants
you think the
coming
U.S.
into our
Conference
country.
of Catholic Bishops are actively hiding criminals from
I think the
law
U.S.
enforcement?
Conference of Catholic Bishops has frankly not been a good partner in common sense immigration enforcement that the American people voted for. And I hope, again, as a devout Catholic, that they'll do better.
So solid work there as usual by Vance. He never has much problem really dismantling these reporters. And hopefully there's much more of that to come over the next 4 years and beyond from Vance. But good to see that Trump's first week in office is off to a blast and that people are getting triggered. That's always a good sign because his team needs to be uncompromising this time around. And that's the sort of rhetoric that a lot of Americans will be very, very happy to hear because God knows America needs it. So guys, don't forget to smash that like button if you haven't already and subscribe to the channel if you want to be a member here of our amazing community. And if you'd like to watch another video right here. Till next time, I'm Jake. This is RattlesnakeTV, keeping you armed and dangerous.